You're listening to the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast with Matt and Rich. Welcome back to episode 39 of the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast, or Matt, as you would like to call it.
Nico Kapanen! Actually had a Kapanen jersey back in the day. Or, lesser known fact, Sabinic McCulloch wore number 39 for 1 year in 2006. It is so strange to know, Donor wore 21. It's strange to know that players that have been here forever or over here for a long time and are known for one number, they started out with a completely different number. And it's like, Donor 21, 19 kind of makes a little more sense. 39 is such an out there number for Sabinic McCulloch.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I would have never guessed. There's also a couple big names, not big names, but a couple of known names as well there with Travis Green had the number for 2 years. And also goalie of the present tank commander himself, Connor Ingram, also is wearing 39
Carter
currently.
Hutton is his spirit animal. I love Carter Hutton for his contributions to this tank. Well, what we need right now, Coyotes fans, all right? You're not going to want to hear this. You need to trade Vejmelka. You need to get a first-round pick and whatever no-name goalie, all right? You call Prosy up in March. You let Prosy play for a month just to see where his game's at. But you get another no-name, and you let Ingram lead this team. He has, like a .750 save percentage? That man will get us to the lowest overall. We'll be 32 in the league for the first time in our franchise's history. And if we don't get the first overall pick, then we can riot. So that's the current plan. Love you, Veggie, but we got to trade you.
No, I don't think you're going to be trading him anytime soon. First thing is, I don't know if anybody is really taking note of him. I mean, he's good, but at the same time, he was kind of a nobody walk-on and just showed up into the league. So I don't know about that.
One injury. All it takes is one team that needs that final push, or even like a team like Colorado. Not this year, obviously, but talking about
like
the
Colorado.
Year they acquired Kemper.
Yeah.
So you take a team that, hey, we're not fully confident in this goalie, or we can use a little more depth of the position, or we have an injury. Dude, goaltending is a premium. And with how well he's played this year and how his cap hit's pretty reasonable, especially if he keeps playing like this, somebody will bite. And there you go. You take a bad contract in exchange to make the first-round pick easier to swallow. It'll probably be a 2024 first if you get anything, because everyone this year is just like, nah, we can't get rid of a 2023 first.
Yeah, clearly. It is ridiculous. I'm still surprised there are players on this team that haven't been traded yet. I don't know. I'm super shocked about that. I would think somebody, would at least be calling about Gostisbehere. I know that the Chikrin, ask is really high, and people want to sit there and be over critical about his game and whatnot to make sure that that's the best trade for them. But Gostisbehere is just sitting there. All you need is a first or whatever to get it done, and nobody's bit yet. I'm surprised on that one.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to throw this out here right now. I had a meme. I was going to go, oh, yeah, Thompson for Ghost 1-for-1. But Buffalo, if they can get themselves higher up in the standings, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a move at a guy like Ghost, because they could use extra defense. They can. He's been playing really well defensively as well. I know we're all looking at the scoring. He's putting up numbers. Some of the best numbers, some of the best pace he's had in his entire career.
Yeah.
So it's we're all enamored by that, but he's also playing solidly defensively, so that also would directly improve the quality of anyone's defense in their top four. So it will get done. I'm not shocked that it hasn't happened yet, because the deadline's in March. I'm going to assume late January, early February is when a lot of the trades are going to start happening. But there's a lot of players that I'm expecting to be gone, and Stetcher has to be one. I think with how surprisingly well he's played, that can get us a fourth or a fifth. You're not going to get a high pick for Stetcher. But
yeah, or a career AHLer that's good down the AHL. I'd be happy with that too.
So that way, hey, Tucson's in a playoff run. We don't really need Stetcher. We can get a late pick and a decent AHLer to bolster up their lineup and help them make a playoff push, because like Donor said, and I've said it for years, you've been right there the entire time I've been saying it, I have a witness, build it from the ground up. So if you can
Yep.
get the AHL squad more consistent, you can get them in the playoffs, you can get them competing. I would love to watch them win a Calder, because I think you
Yeah.
need to build it from the ground up. So I think Stetcher will probably be gone. Nemeth next year, if he keeps playing well defensively, he has no business playing as well as he has. That does not mean he's been like a top 4 or anything. He just better
Yeah.
than I was
He's
expecting.
he's
Next year he'll be
definitely
gone.
he's definitely not a seventh defenseman. I'm surprised because I was expecting him to be a seventh defenseman AHL guy, and he's shown that he can still play in the NHL, in a good system.
Because
Because
the Coyotes are kind of like the reclamation project, like the
Yeah.
reclamation dot project dot NHL. You come
Yeah.
here, hey, we have the minutes for you. We have a low pressure situation, low pressure vibe. Patrick Nemeth is now a top 6 defenseman.
Yep. Yeah, I'd be curious to see, going back to the Gossesbear thing. Like, does Chikrin not end up getting moved just because the Coyotes have, Gossesbear sitting out there for also as trade bait for the deadline? Like, that'd be tricky to learn.
I think the ghost thing could have an impact for some buyers, because some people, like some teams, might only need a rental. But
Yeah.
for the teams that are serious about Chikrin and are seriously scouting him, and no, I have no inside information. I can't tell you.
No, you
for
definitely
certain.
do.
Yes,
Tell
Boston.
us. Tell us.
Boston's been scouting him heavily
Oh.
or something stupid like that. But it's. I feel like it almost fits two different niches, two different needs, almost two entirely different markets. Because if you're going for Chikrin, he still
Yeah.
has, 2 more years of control, and then it's like you're going to sign him as soon as he's eligible to a big 6 to 8 year extension, and he is going to be a top 2 defenseman for you for the next decade until
Yep.
the end of his career, or unless the wheels fall out in 6 years or whatever, and you trade the last couple years of the contract. Like, that's what you're going into that for. Ghost is 29. You're getting him as a rental, and you're looking at maybe we could extend him, 3 to 5 years, because I would be a little cautious signing defensemen. Some defensemen, because some defensemen can play forever, but most defensemen, especially offensive ones, I'd want a little more caution. But you might sign him to a 3 to 5 year deal max
Hmm.
if you're a contending team. So I think it's two different markets, even though there's going to
Yep.
be a lot of overlap, obviously. But I think one will happen, and the other one will very, very quickly after that happen.
Well, hopefully, because man, if the Coyotes could get probably some more 2023 first set of some teams, that would be real nice. Once
What do you
again, they
think
don't.
Bukestad gets us? Because I think we're getting a second or a third. If the offense tapers off a bit, it'll be a third. If he stays like where he's at right now and he gets by the deadline like 10, 12 goals, I think he can get a second.
Yeah, that's hard because he's been pretty defensively responsible too. Like he's been a really good two-way forward. I don't know, man. That's tough. That's really tough. I would say probably. I mean, especially with the cap hit too, 900K. Like, if the Coyotes were insane enough, they could even retain on that. That would probably get you a second, right? Like, could you imagine adding a guy like that for 450 or whatever? Like,
Yeah, like it would basically be an AHL contract, like a below league minimum contract on your books. So I
Yeah.
don't really know how retainment works.
I don't know
for
either. Yeah, maybe.
contracts that low.
Yeah,
'Cause
maybe
it
you
would
can't.
be a circumvention thing. I don't know. But even just as it is, and the Coyotes don't retain, he's making under $1 million. Even the teams that are cap strapped are flexible enough to either be able to send one guy down to get that flexibility, or we can just, hey, give us an additional third and we'll take on an expiring contract to give you the cap space. Like,
Yeah.
obviously we're not taking like a 3 years left, cap dump, but if it's like you got making 1.25, something like that, you can throw in an extra third round pick as expiring contract. I don't think that's hard to swallow. So I think with how well he's played better than I expected, and the thing was I expected pure bottom 6. Anywhere else in the league, he's a pure bottom 6. But I forgot how much top 6 upside, predominantly second line, not a first liner, but like second line upside he had. Like, I didn't even realize just how much of that upside was still there. That has to mean the value is still pretty good, and
Yeah.
someone's gonna take a look at that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Somebody's going to give it a shake, and it being so cheap, like, absolutely. But also something I want you guys to give a shake would be the like and follow and subscribe button. We're getting a little provocative here, but if you could, please, if you've made it this far in, give us a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And also, if you are listening to us audibly, you can also find us on YouTube, where we do the visual representation of this podcast. But aside from that,
nobody wants to see our face. I'm gonna rip that Band-Aid right
nah,
off. I'm just gonna say,
you and I are starting our early what is it? New Year's resolutions. We're starting out early, and you and we're getting back into shape. All right.
yeah, but like nothing's gonna fix our faces. I'll be honest here. All right, look, on a good day, like I'm feeling hot. I mean, like the hair's on point, the beard's a little more grown out. I'm a solid 6 on the best possible days.
I think you're good, man. I think you're too hard on yourself. All right.
You gotta be hard on yourself. You gotta improve. You gotta always have your your head on the grindstone, or whatever the hell the phrase is. Like you gotta get them gains, dog.
You gotta be the top G. All right. That was
anyway. Before
one.
we get into the main topics, we've had a little bit of trade discussion, and please pull the trigger on that Chikrin trade already. He is playing the best hockey of his career right now. Some of the best, consistent offensive numbers, ridiculously good defensively. They moved it, because of how well his team's playing and to shake up, but he got moved to the second power play unit and was still productive, was still successful on it.
It's
that
interesting.
Was just Coach Bear just hanging out. Hey, let's just shift it up a little bit, and he's still produced.
They didn't just you're on the second power play now. It's interesting how Bear does it. He's splitting it evenly, that power play, and it's not one power play 1 and 2. There's no clear better line, right? It's they're both pretty good lines, and that he's been playing them evenly. It's a pretty good lethality to the power play. Now, if only it can connect more, that would be good.
I mean, look, with how consistent the power play's been this year, I don't even care about what minor gripes are in it or what's consistency issues, because it's been better than I think we've seen in half a decade.
Yeah, so for sure.
I'll just take. Cause last year it was better than we expected, but that's also not saying much. This year it's actually at least in my mind, a good power play unit. That doesn't mean top 5 or 10 or something stupid like that, but a good power play unit. So I'll just take that, and then as we get guys like Cooley coming in, Gunnar coming back, hopefully a little more confidence. Like I said, it felt like the scoring was going off a little bit. It actually wasn't when you look at the numbers, but just kind of make sure he's right, and not to throw him to the wolves too much too early. I don't mind a little bit of caution.
For Gunnar?
Yeah, for Gunnar.
Okay,
He'll come back after getting some more confidence. We have some other young players playing, and Michelli probably. I'm gonna. I know I've been on the trade Schmaltz bandwagon, and it's nothing to do with him as a person, like him as a player. It just comes down to I kind of feel like Schmaltz loses his roster spot in the next 2 years, and with how that contract is structured, if you are looking ahead, you'd have to move him this year to really make it function.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we've already been down this trade this trade tree. I don't know if you will move him just because he's such good friends with Keller. You don't want to disrupt that boat, right? Because if Keller goes, I want to leave.
The team,
Yeah. If Keller goes I want to leave too, then you're really SOL. So, I think you got to play a very careful game with Nick Schmaltz. I don't know if trading him is going to be the right choice right now. At least at the very least, while this team sucks, right? You let him play just for Clayton Keller's sanity's sake before.
But are you telling me that Kells and Michelli wouldn't have similar production, if not a little more? Because I feel like Michelli is a stronger passer than Schmaltz. But then again, you also have.
But you got to remember
Keller as being the main setup guy.
You got to remember though, how you gonna get the puck over the line? that's something that Nick Schmaltz does incredibly well is zone entries. Like he's so good at it. He's one of the best probably Coyotes I've ever seen at zone entry, and that is saying something because we have actually had a good list of zone entry guys down the history of this team. I'm looking at you, Wizard. You
I
were
was gonna
really
say
good.
Keith Yandel. The only thing he was ever good for was that
Yeah.
zone entry. That stride. I always remember he'd always had that stride, so much confidence going, into the zone. Takes it across the blue line. At least from my perspective, he'd get kind of lost,
Hmm.
and it would either you're forcing a shot or maybe like a bad
Well,
pass, or he'd make a really good offensive play.
Schmaltz is so crazy how he does it. So he makes himself look like he's gassed, and then people like go in to attack him, and then once they've attacked, that's when he switches gears and he does like this weird stride that doesn't look like it's fast, but it's fast. It's interesting watching him skate. Like he doesn't look fast, but he's fast. Like it's just he's got a weird stride, and it works well for him.
Do you think ultimately he's part of the core that's going to make the playoff runs? Because that's the only question that I have right now is for every single thing this
If
team is trying to build, what they want to do, what the end game is, do you see him as part of that core, that top six unit in the playoffs?
If Nick Schmaltz could stay healthy, I would say yes. But the problem is that Nick Schmaltz cannot stay healthy, and that is the biggest problem, unfortunately.
Because as we're seeing right now, he plays phenomenally when he's healthy.
Yeah,
He's a damn good player.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the problem, right? It's just it comes down to staying healthy, and maybe this is the last injury, and then he's going to start his Iron Man streak. But I don't believe it's going to happen.
As I
This
was
is a
just
guy who's
knock
going to
on
have
wood.
this guy who's going to perennially need maintenance days and days off and week to weeks or whatever to injure whatever. I'm not super mad at him for doing so, but it's just disappointing that it happens so often. I'd prefer a player who is injured to sit out and rest that injury than play through the damn injury.
Mm.
But with that being said, how are you getting yourself into such vulnerable situations to where you're getting injured that much, right?
Some
Like,
guys might just be injury prone. Like you get that first injury and you just become more prone to others or similar ones.
yeah,
But the thing with him, hasn't it been like multiple at different spots
yeah,
on both sides of his body?
yeah. The big one that took him out early when he became a Coyote was a knee injury. That took him out for like the rest of the season. And then I think most recently was a upper body, like a hand or something like that. So yeah, it's been all over. He has not been lucky, that's for sure.
All I know is that my dogs need to stop barking because they're all a bunch of idiots. But speaking of future Coyotes, because my mind is exclusively on the future because like I love this current squad. This
Hmm.
current squad isn't a cup team, and it's not built to be like that. I'm not saying that, but when it's also like I look at the good things we have, the bad things, whatever. I'm looking at okay, but who's going to be here in 3 years? Because this team looks ahead of schedule, and I don't know how much of that is genuine, how much of that is because of the players that we still have that we're getting ready to trade. I don't know if we are a full year ahead like it feels like, or if it's no, we're only looking ahead right now. Once we make those trades, we go right back to the regular timeline. So it's like I want to still be cautious with it. A guy like Schmaltzy, by the time it's time for those playoff runs, he'll be what 30, damn near 30, about to turn 30,
Yeah, pretty
and with
close.
injury histories in
He's
his 20s, that's a bit of a problem. Veggie is
he's
26 right now. He'll be in his 30s when we start going on playoff runs, and it's like I don't see. I love Veggie. I don't see him as your goaltender of the future because how often have we as Coyotes fans seen this? A goalie comes out of nowhere, they play well for a couple of years, they get a contract, and then either the wheels fall out or after a couple of years of playing well, it just starts going downhill, and he'd be going downhill right when the Coyotes are trying to go up. Goaltending is something that you saw it with Colorado. You can get last. You can get that as your last pickup, your last piece. You can get a guy who's on an expiring contract, a couple of years left, and get better goaltending because it's such a and we talk about it. It's such a weird position because there's almost no consistency to it. Like the goalie that's top five in the league 5 years ago, at least one of those top five isn't currently in the league anymore. At least, and we can go fact check that, and I guarantee one of those goalies is not even going to be in the league right now. That's how fickle it is. So I'm like, okay, so a guy like that, he's playing well. You move him. I don't see Schmaltz particularly as being part of that future core. You move him. Chicory and Ghost. But I'm like, what what are you looking to add? Like on the deadline, are you trying to get players that you think could fit your scheme that are on 1 or 2 year contracts and see if they
Well,
can go into your plans?
I mean, if I am moving on from all these players, Nick Ritchie, Bukestad, excuse me,
What
Chikrin,
even does Richie get
Gossesbear,
you? Like,
um,
what is his market?
I don't know, but I will say what you're looking for is defensemen, serviceable NHL defensemen, young ones, preferably.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to be superstars. They don't need to be Brant Clarks of the prospect pools, but you need young, serviceable defensemen, just like how we found with Valimaki, right? I wouldn't say he's the best. I wouldn't say he's been incredible, but he's been serviceable 100%. Same with Josh Brown. Josh Brown's been a delight surprise as well.
I
I
called that going into the season. I will stand by that. I was like, I'm watching him play. Good defensive defenseman. You're gonna see
mhm.
mistakes. He's not a top four or anything, but just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, so that's what I think you'd be looking for is like a younger defenseman to you know, come into this team, 22, 23 kind of age, um, and start playing. I think that's what they'd be wanting to look for to expand on. Obviously, their pool in the defensive category is just not been great. You got
It's light
Kolyachonok.
right now. It's currently light.
Yeah, you got Kolyachonok from a trade, Soderstrom from a pick, right? Those are your
Mm-hmm.
two big ones down there. Obviously, there's Deneen, but I kind of view him as a career AHLer. Mayo, kind of probably the same thing, probably a career AHLer.
Which really sucks. He played well last year, but I think, and I was actually talking with someone about it last night. Is that I feel like even I ignored the whole it's a contract year thing because he was playing well. I was like, oh, he's a young guy, gets his first contract. That's not like a big NHL contract. He should still be fine, and he just hasn't been good this year.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what they'll do with Mayo. I mean, they signed him to a 3-year contract, right? So it's a
So
lot of
regardless, we'll have a
years.
defenseman.
Yeah.
I think it's fine because if you get a little light on defense, you can have him come and be your sixth, seventh defenseman. And
Yeah,
I
well, I
feel
mean,
like
you're
he'll kind
you're
of,
you're hopefully going to be trading 2 defensemen at the deadline, right? So there's going to be spots.
Now, I do want to talk about briefly because I was all on this train. I don't know how vocal I was, but whenever the whole Ethan Bear thing was going on, I thought the Coyotes should have been in on him. Do you think that's not him specifically now that he's in, I think, Vancouver, but do you think that's the kind of defenseman you're looking at? Someone that isn't getting the playing time where they're at, that's younger, anywhere between, like you said, what, 22 to 24? Or to 22, 23 that you said?
Yeah, 22 to 24. Like people forget, defensemen, they always take longer to develop, and like so that's probably the age where you're like, okay, this guy is going to be an NHLer at that point. Like for example, Valimaki, 24, right? Couldn't stay in the NHL. Couldn't stay on his team consistently, but he's found a place here on the Coyotes at 24. Like that's usually about the time where you're like, okay, that this is when you're gonna hit the NHL. So yeah, that's roughly where I'd put it. But as for
So,
Ethan Bear, yeah, somebody kind of like that, somebody who needs a second chance, maybe a more playing time or a different role, whatever it is. That's definitely somebody you'd be willing to take a look at.
do you think the Coyotes should have been in on Bear, or was it just not the right time, or not the right player for the system?
Probably not right player for the system. We already have a couple of riverboat gamblers, as some people call them, offensive defensemen who gamble with their passing and stuff like that. We already have a few of those, so it makes sense to probably not bring him into the system. It would be like a situation with like they're not as good, obviously, but I'm giving examples. Like you saw what happened when you had Eric Carlson and Brent Burns on the same team, right? Like when you have two riverboat gamblers, it's really hard to give them both the ice time that they demand. And now that Burns is gone out of that system, all of a sudden Eric Carlson's blowing up because, you know, that's just the way it is. The same with Gossesbear, right? Like, why has Gossesbear been so good? Because he's the only one that does what he does. He's not fighting for that role every single day. He's getting all that ice time.
I feel like Yanis Moser is like the most surprising hybrid, like two-way defenseman. Like the example of two-way, because I feel like I'll see him doing a little bit of the gambling, but I've never, at least, I don't watch every single second, because obviously if I'm working a game, I can't watch every second, but like, as much as I pay attention as I possibly can, I feel like he does his calculated risks, and it's like the definition of two-way. It's like every now and again, it's like, oh yeah, he should probably pinch here. Those are the places he's probably going to pinch.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
he's been good to start the season, but he's been kind of quiet the past like 5 games or so. He has not been impressing the last 5 games.
He has just been passively generating assists. That's literally like he is the definition of like passive income enjoyer, because he's just out there doing his job, moving the puck around. Oh, secondary assist Moser. He's still on pace for like what 40 some odd points.
Yeah.
And that was
like
second
that.
round pick overager that I'm not going to say nobody wanted, because that would be inaccurate and harsh, but nobody wanted that high. And the Coyotes saw that and said, no, that's value. And literally got a top 4 defenseman borderline from the jump out of a second round pick in a draft that everyone kind of looked at like, oh, it's not going to be a very good draft because of the amount of COVID. The amount of this league shutting down,
not being able to
like,
scout people. Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be such a risky pick or a bad pick. Oh, why would you take him this high? Top 4 defenseman for a second round pick, and that's a young top 4 defenseman for your future. I think anyone in the form of a trade would, like, from the high heavens.
Yeah,
you're cheering for that. Like, hell, the Gossesbear trade is still seen as one of the best trades in the last few years, because we got him for nothing, and it's a second round pick.
Yeah, and if we get a late first for him, that would be insane. Like you take on you get a late first and a second for nothing, like literally nothing. That would be crazy value.
So, like, great. Like I don't know. Speaking of future Coyotes, I feel like I derailed us a little bit. My apologies. Speaking of future Coyotes,
okay.
Tage Thompson. When are we bringing the local boy home?
Well, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, because Buffalo definitely likes what they see from that kid, and I do too.
Buffalo's going to find a way to ruin this team and enter another rebuild. They ruined Jack Eichel. Like, this is people like to trash on the Coyotes, and, like, I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I've been doing a lot more trash talking with Buffalo fans specifically, but I've noticed just passively in any Coyotes-related, like, anything, if it's even slightly negative, you have Buffalo fans there first that are calling them an embarrassment and saying relocate them. It's always disproportionately Buffalo fans. It's because that organization is a garbage tier organization that's ran terribly, and they ruined a top 10 center, if not top 5 center in the league, second overall pick. They ruined that guy. It wasn't until he got his proper surgery and he was fine and good to go in Vegas. They ruined that core and had to then tear it down again to get young again for this current core. They will find a way to ruin it. And, like, that's just what their franchise does, and I feel like it's a lot of copium of, our franchise is garbage, so we have to find a punching bag franchise, and that's why you get all the cheap shots at Arizona, when it's like, realistically speaking, we've never had a Jack Eichel to build around.
Yep.
The closest right now is Clayton Keller, and how long did it take him to get to this level? Like, he's been good, but it took him,
a center.
what, half a decade? Yeah, and he's a winger, not a center.
Yeah.
So, like, we've still never had that franchise center, that number one piece to build around. That's where you start. It always starts number one center. You work your way down. That is the most efficient, smart way to build your team.
Don't believe us? Just look at Just look at the recent Stanley Cup champions, right? Like, look at all of them. All of them like start with having a top 5 center in the NHL.
At least top 10, like minimum. Like that is your
Like
borderline
even
cutoff
even
point.
even the Blues, where you go, oh, Ryan O'Reilly wasn't, a top 10 center. You're wrong. Like, go back and
Hey,
watch those playoffs. Go back and watch that season. He was absolutely one of the top, at least top 10 centers of the league.
you get that man out of Buffalo, and he flourishes. You get Robin Lehner out of Buffalo, flourishes. I'm just saying, Buffalo is a common denominator. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people go to Arizona to reinvigorate their careers. You go to Buffalo to die. Like, Carter Hutton was not a bad goaltender. Goes to Buffalo, and look at those numbers start to dip. Even the
Mm-hmm.
Coyotes couldn't save that
Couldn't,
project.
couldn't rejuvenate his career.
So it's like, so they'll find a way to ruin it. I give it 3 to 4 years. Not even a full 5.
It's just the perpetual. I've always forget the terminology for this, but there's like a terminology where like you like what happens to families where like the dad will like be abusive and then it gets passed down to the kid and then the kid does it to their children, does it to their
Oh,
children,
it's
does it
a
to their
perpetual cycle?
yeah, like a
Where it's
perpetual
a
cycle of bullying.
abuse?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's going on in Buffalo. It's just they it's a perpetual cycle of abuse going on right there, and then it just passes down generation to generation, and then like to take it out on them, all the kids go and bully the other kids because they got to make themselves feel better. And that's what goes
And
on.
like I said, it's not gonna last. Like Buffalo, the ownership is also bad because like the only reason the Bills are as good as they are is because the ownership has gotten so far. Like they've taken their hands out of day-to-day operations so much. But I
Yeah.
also have noticed, even just by paying attention to some Buffalo fans, I know I shouldn't, but it's like they've gotten way more hands-on with Buffalo. It's like they'll ruin it. They'll find a way to ruin a good thing, and Tage Thompson will come home. I know last night I closing up shop stuff, in the elevator, heading downstairs, and when I'm upstairs, I'm looking down, I see a bunch of Buffalo fans that were sticking around. I'm like, well, I do remember reading a report, I think it was on Twitter, that, oh, hey, Tage Thompson had like 30 family members and friends all there. So I look
Yeah.
down, I'm like, that's got to be his family. So in the elevator, we're going down, we walk in, I'm like, hey, so how about that Tage Thompson kid?
Mm-hmm.
I guessed right, like, we're his family, right? I'm like, yeah, I know, I figured, I just wanted to, I'll praise that kid to anyone who will listen, that future Coyote. I'm starting the recruiting process, boys. I'm not associated with the Arizona Coyotes organization or even Arizona State University. I could still be a neutral third party, quote unquote neutral. I'm starting the recruiting, and I don't know who exactly it was that I was speaking to, just know his family. And one of them said, well, talk to the powers that be. So, Bill, bring the kid home.
Tage Thompson for Jacob Chikrin. Who says no?
No one. It's better than both parties.
Yeah, I think Buffalo will say no to that one. But hey, Coyotes fans can dream, all right? We can absolutely
Listen,
dream.
when they ruin it and they go through another rebuild, the Coyotes will be right at the turning point.
I'm
They
sure-
should be a playoff contender. You can
I'm
acquire
sure-
Tage Thompson.
I'm sure he'll have like a bone spur or something like that, and they'll want him to rub essential oils onto it to fix it. And, we'll be back in the same situation about 2 years from now. So it's all right.
All right, so in 2 years, we can do Schmaltz for Thompson. Because they need to sell Thompson, so we'll give you Schmaltz in like a first or something. Like we'll throw in a couple little things, and then it's
There you
like,
go.
hey, you get someone, right? You get someone you can use. I mean, he'll be old by then, but you get someone you can use, and we get this gently used Tage Thompson to put on a line with Clayton Keller and Austin Matthews. Who says no? Even though I know Thompson's playing center now, I'm so used to him being on the right wing, but like he's been a solid center. I just don't know what the Coyotes depth chart if they would need another center, because if Cooley stays at center, that's your second line center. So I'm just saying, Keller, Matthews, Thompson. Who says no?
Definitely Buffalo, but
We
we'll
don't care about Buffalo.
we'll
Buffalo
move
shouldn't
on.
even have a team. There are 3 teams in New York. Buffalo requires Canada to literally like prop itself up. It relies on that border. That's why I was trashing on them for their attendance. The Coyotes outdrawing them. When it's their last year in Glendale, they were a tanking, terrible team, bottom 5 all year, and the Coyotes still outdrew them. Oh, well, it's because the border. Most of the fans live in Canada. So what you're saying is your market can't even support your team. What you're saying is you literally need a separate country
Yep.
to support. Like, it's a meme, yeah. Canadians come down here and prop up Arizona's team, but they also help prop up the entire economy. the entire time they're here because they like coming here in Florida. So it's like, at the very least, there's justification for it. You guys literally, if the border shut down, which is outside of your control, because there's two different countries, so if Canada decides no one's crossing the border, your market then can blow up. So yeah, no. Buffalo should probably be going to Houston.
My favorite is that they're using their wallets to vote against the owner, and it's like, what do you think the Coyotes have been doing for like the past 5 years? We never had problems selling out playoff tickets, friends. We never did. Every single playoffs that we've been in, all of our games have been sellouts. You know, the problem is that the Arizona hot market in general has always had fair weather fans, air quotes, because guess what? There's only been one team to ever win it all here in Arizona, and we have the four major sports. Only one team, and that was the Diamondbacks in 2001, who then proceeded to, and then the Diamondbacks proceeded to pick last, 2 years later? So that dynasty, that success didn't last very long. You know, I'm pretty sure the stat is that the Diamondbacks have, well, actually, no, Montreal didn't win it. Never mind. I'm pretty sure that I remember reading a stat that the Diamondbacks were the fastest team to go from first, so winning the championship, to finishing last place. And I think it took them like 2.5 years or something like that.
Montreal.
Maybe 3. I don't know.
We'll do it back-to-back years.
Yeah. Well, they didn't end up winning, so I forgot. I forgot.
The cup finals, so
yeah. But I'm pretty sure I read a stat like that. Mm-hmm.
Like, you read the stat, like, I don't know, maybe you're not in that group chat, but like 60% of Arizonan adults were not born here.
Yeah.
Like, it is rare for, oh, hey, where are you from? Like it's, I was watching one YouTube video, just a very, very small side tangent. This gentleman that's lived in Japan for a super long time. He's an American, and the kind of culture there is like, you know, oh, no matter how long you've been here, like, so when you leave, like, when you going back wherever you're from. In Arizona, it's almost a similar mindset. When it's like, oh, so where did you come from? Like, well, you know, where are you from? You know, are you from Chicago? That's a very popular one. There's a lot of Blackhawks fans here. New York, a lot from Long Island specifically. Islanders fans are a dime a dozen here. It's crazy. A lot from California. Just look at the Lakers fans and Dodgers fans that are constantly in our stands, and I absolutely can't stand it.
Yeah.
Like, this market, to its core, is a transplant market. It takes a long time for people that come here to give up their former teams if they ever do it at all. Yeah, we had the Roadrunners back in '67, and the Suns, I think, were the year before. It was the Suns and the Roadrunners, like, back-to-back years. So the Suns have a lot of hardcore fans. But the most, like, the oldest team since the Suns that is still here is the Cardinals, and they came here in, was it 89? It was the late 80s they came here. Then you had the D-backs expanding in 98, Coyotes moving here in 96. Like, we're finally, kind of like with the growth of hockey in the market, funny enough, we're finally seeing, like, the hardcore fan base grow for the Coyotes. The Cardinals, everyone loves football. It is what it is.
Yeah.
The Cardinals have an advantage there. The D-backs, regardless of how abusive they've been to their fans, you still have a sizable number of hardcore fans. It's just not as much because when's the last time they made the playoffs? Oh, yeah, they got bounced in the first possible game they could get bounced in that wasn't a wild card game. The first series, they got swept. So it's like, this is a transplant market through and through. Straight up. It takes forever to get people to really buy into Arizona, and when you do not have a winning product consistently, when we are consistently, look at any power rankings in any sport, any league for the last 20 years, and consistently Arizona teams are projected to finish in the bottom at the start of the season, regardless of how the Suns, they had to go to the finals to be slightly taken seriously, and then finish first in the entire league the next year. Or I think just the West. They had to finish first the next year.
It just takes time with, like, a team staying in that market for a while for it to finally stop being being a transplant market. So, like, for instance, the Coyotes have been here for 26 years. How do I know this? Because I'm 26 years old. I was born, the same year the Coyotes came to the market. And
same, by the way.
Yeah. So, like, you and I, we are perfect examples of, income, excuse me, of income coming online for the Coyotes to use, right? Like you buy jerseys, buy tickets, things like that. Our income is only just starting now. You're like, what? 26? Like your income should have started when you're, 16, 17, 18. But that's not necessarily true. When you're young like that, you don't really know what you're doing with your money, and
Yeah,
you could be a part-timer, things like that. But I'm talking about like legitimate, middle class and income, things like that. Like that's where you're going to see these people start to come online, is about this time when they're getting out of college, finding jobs, getting upgrades and jobs and stuff like that. And when that income comes online, obviously then you start to cultivate more of a following. You start to cultivate people consistently going to games and stuff like that. The younger generation, the generation that was born with the team. And that's what we're seeing now. And that's why we're starting to see more success with like growing the game and getting kids into the all the little junior hockey programs and stuff like that, because you and I, like, our generation is having kids, and those young kids are getting into hockey and falling in love with it.
Like my nephew and my brother-in-law and I have been joking about this for years. Like the whole like, oh, we didn't get to play hockey, so we're gonna force it on him. Like we're totally gonna get him in sports, like hockey, as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah.
As soon as he's old enough to hold a stick, I'm gonna be out there as the Funko playing hockey with him, and I'm gonna cross-check him in the face. I'm gonna toughen that boy up. Kidding.
There you go.
I do not condone violence against children officially.
I'll make sure to write that one down in the notes. Matt likes to cross-check children in the face. Okay.
But anyway, like, this is like we're the first generation to be born into being Coyotes fans. Like realistically, because my dad from Chicago, I don't think he was a hockey fan. I don't know how much of a Blackhawks fan he used to be. He became a Coyotes fan because, hey, it's hockey, I can watch it, it's here. So then that gets passed down to me. I'm the first generation born with it here.
Yeah.
Okay, well now, I mean, I don't want kids, but if I ever end up having kids, if my wife ever ends up breaking me down enough, then that kid is going to be a Coyotes fan. My wife, her father is an Avs fan, her mom is a Penguins fan because she really likes Jaromir Jagr, and then she likes the Coyotes because she grew up with the Coyotes, but she also liked Vegas until I bullied her out of that because Vegas can go F itself after they screwed over Fleury. But again, like the first generation, she's about 5 years younger than me, born with the team.
Yeah.
Then when we have kids, we will also pass that on. Like, why do you think there's a much bigger Suns fan base? They've been here since the 60s. Cardinals, bigger because football, but also they've been here since the 80s. It's at least been a couple generations already. Like, 90s kids are just starting to hit the point where, oh, wait, we actually have to get our crap together. We can't live with our parents forever.
Yep.
we actually have to do something with our lives. I know, I'm still pretty behind, but hey, when I'm 30, I won't be as much of a loser. I'm building it.
There you go. You're gonna start with working out every day. You're gonna get that fitness back, and then you're gonna become a Olympic lifter, and that's what's gonna get you there.
Oh God, my hey, how have you been training for this Olympic deadlift? I've been carrying my marriage and this fan base for the last 30 years.
There you go.
I'm tired.
I'm tired, Grandpa.
I don't want to dig anymore.
That's too damn bad.
Anyway, TLDR, Tage Thompson's coming home. I started the recruitment process, and the market is gonna take time. And realistically, this Tempe arena, when it gets built, I am confident. I am confident. But when that gets built, you're gonna see that direct correlation of, again, that's what everyone's gonna be right around 28 to 30. I don't want to think about that. It's a terrifying number, but realistically speaking, you're going to start seeing this market grow even more and that fan base cultivate even more because, again, by that point, you're also going to then be approaching like a third generation potentially, depending on how early people are having kids. So I'm just saying the market is going to be there. It already is there. You've already seen the numbers are comparable revenue-wise to Glendale in an arena a third size.
Mm-hmm.
That is still shocking. They've still sold out all their games. One Buffalo fan tried to say, "Oh, look at the highlights. It was half empty. People leave early." You want to know why? Because they were losing.
Yep.
Also, there's other stuff to do in the arena, and it's very tight corridor, so it takes people a while to get back to their seats. I would know. I have to maneuver them on game days at every single
Yeah,
day. So
I get looks from the there's like the people that hold the signs that are like stop, don't go down while your plays in motion. Like we'll get there right before like puck drop, and they'll be like, "Oh, you can go to your seat." I'm like, "Nope." I'm like, "I'll wait," because what's gonna happen is I'm gonna start walking the second the puck drops down to my seat, and then I'm like right smack dab in the middle of my aisle, so like I have to cross over like 6 or 7 people, and I'm like, "Nope, don't need that. I don't need the social pressure. I'll wait."
Richie, he's passive, not just with his income, but also with his personality.
True. I am a very passive person.
But also, the vast majority of those empty seats, and I don't know if I've addressed it on the podcast. I want to talk about it one more time here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's a premium section? Like right there in the middle is a premium like ASU alumni kind of like club area.
Yeah.
Most people that sit there, and you're not allowed to walk through it because you don't have a ticket, but I got a badge, so I'm allowed to walk through there to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
I walk through there every day. People are up there eating. People are up there hanging out. That's where they spend the vast majority of their time. I don't get it because those seats are pretty comfortable. The only really comfortable ones in the house. And the sweet seats, but there's a lot of movement there. And I also don't know why some of the reserve tickets they have to hold back. I don't know why they would ever have that in that area. I know it's premium, whatever. You have to hold it for this and this. I get it. You want families sitting there, so you can sell your suites. I understand it. But the problem is, if the family's hanging out doing something else, they get to the game later because they don't really count towards attendance. Literally, you just have empty seats and it looks like you can't sell out. When in reality, they've sold to their capacity. They literally, there's an external factor there that I could personally attest to.
I'm really curious because this is actually something that's interesting to me is that we see that their attendance has been consistently at 4,600, right? And the problem is like we do know that it's 4,800, right? Like the attendance that they can possibly sell would be 4,800. So why aren't we seeing like 4,650, 4,682 for like extra tickets that they're giving because they had to reserve tickets, right, to give to families, and like you'd think that some of those have to be used, or are they just never going to use those 200 tickets? Like that is something that's weird to me, unless they're only getting paid attendance ticket numbers.
The only thing that counts is the official, and the official is 46. Like that is their official attendance. So I'm assuming that means that's the amount of sellable tickets. That's the amount of sellable real estate in the building.
Yeah.
Because everything else, like you see where the media sits. It's
Yeah.
literally an entire half of the arena, the standing room section, which would have been extra butts, well not butts and seats, but feet on the ground, I guess, extra people in the building.
Yeah, extra eyes.
So it's like, it makes sense why you'd have the family seating there. It just sucks that you're using up the most premium seats.
Yeah.
Because on the exact other end of the arena, they have the exact same little kind of looking section. I don't know why you don't just put the family there where the camera's at and then keep selling those. But then again, you want to treat the family. I get it. It's a nice little club area. Like I understand. It's weird. Mm-hmm. But no, the official is 4,600. Like that's their official. So that has to mean that's the amount they're allowed to sell. Anything else would be, we can't count that because that's family. We're giving that away. We can't count that because that's this. That's for media. That isn't even a real seat.
Mm-hmm.
Where the camera sits, is normally a seat. Like anyone that walks by can see that,
Yeah.
Because NHL has different, requirements for their camera setup and everything than NCAA. But then again, it was designed for NCAA. It was designed for college.
Yep.
So you had to make do. But luckily, it was just that was what they were talking about with capacity going down, with hey, where are we going to fit all of this and this, and not tearing out parts of the building like people thought initially. which never made
Yep.
sense. And I maintained from the start, I said that would never make sense because why would ASU build a 5,000 seat arena and then say, "Hey, Coyotes, you can knock down 1,200 seats. We don't care."
Yep. We'll just put a big wall right next to the arena. Like it'll be like glass then wall, right? That'll look good. I don't know what the problem is.
Anyways, yeah, no.
Remember,
it is
it's
officially
3,200.
46.
It's
Oh,
3,200.
yeah, sorry. It's like 16. Remember, they can only and they're all corporate sponsored seats. Hell, I'll take it a step further. It's who's someone that doesn't sponsor us anymore? Verve Energy. Verve Energy holds a gun to their employees' heads and say, if you don't go to this hockey game, you get fired. They get paid to go. That's exactly how they fill that building. You got paid employees going to watch these games, sponsored by Verve Energy.
We
Is that even a
actually,
company anymore?
I don't know, but we all know that there are no Coyotes fans. They're actually all just paid actors. That's the truth.
Dude, this is literally an Alex Jones type conspiracy, and I'm about to, pull the veil back. They're putting something in the water, boys.
I mean, it is what it is. I see that we're getting close to the end here. I do want to show off my jacket though before we
Show off your
get there.
jacket.
Okay. So I got the jacket.
My personal philosophy, F them kids. His personal philosophy is I'm gonna blow $4,600 on this nice jacket for the kids.
It wasn't 4,600, so before people think that it was that much, I will say, get the jacket and the poster. But the reason why I did so was because, Phoenix Children means a lot to me. I, don't like to discuss a lot of like my past and stuff like that, but I will say this much. I was very ill with monotuberculosis, the kissing disease, as they call it. It hit me extremely hard because I have a weak immune system. And essentially, I couldn't drink water for like 3 days straight. That's how bad my throat was swollen. And so they helped me. They treated me, and I was very grateful for the staff at Phoenix Children's.
Richie, genuine good guy. Me, F them kids.
True.
Official Desert Moon Hockey
Plus,
podcast.
who-
Merch below.
who couldn't like this jacket? It's pretty nice. It's
Yeah, it's a really sweet jacket.
it's like suede, and then the arms are leather. So, and it's a good quality. Like, it doesn't look like cheap crap. The only thing I will say, but this isn't like a gripe on them or manufacturer or anything like that, but I did notice that the badge is like not completely on there. But I think that's because of the material. I think this is suede, and like it's like really hard to put stuff on suede. So that is the only thing like I can see. But aside from that, like, it's all really nice. It's really warm. It definitely keeps you nice and warm. The inside's got the coyote in it. Yeah, good quality
Interesting
stitching.
choice of players too. You got Kells, obviously. Was it Schmaltzy, Krauser, and Veggie?
Yeah, it's veggie. Also, why would you get rid of the goalie that you just put on the back of a jacket? So you got veggie.
Because you got your money for the kids.
Exactly. But there are signatures for all four of them, so that all four have signed it. So that's really cool.
Is it actually signed, or is that weird?
Yeah,
like,
I
printed?
think they're actual signatures. Let me check. Yeah, they look like actual signatures. So it'll be kind of
Like,
hard
with
to.
Sharpie, you can usually tell if it's an actual signature.
Yeah, you can see it's like actual Sharpie on it. So let me see if I can get one that's
Never
like in a
wash
white
it,
area.
boys.
There we go. So there's one. So it's like actual Sharpie on
Yeah,
it.
it looks like Sharpie.
So yeah, it's really nice. I'm glad I got it. Yeah.
Have you got your reverse retro yet?
Yeah, I just got confirmation that it shipped, so it's finally out of the damn harbor in California, and it's coming to my doorstep.
I don't
It
know.
might
My
be here.
Keller has been sitting in my closet for a week.
Yeah, but guess what? You won't have the jersey yet, so screw you. I get the authentic. I got
Yeah, you get
I got the actual authentic. Okay, you didn't. I didn't pay for that piddly non-authentic. Okay. So
Yeah, all right. So, just to send us off, because we're gonna hit the hour mark in a second.
okay.
I probably for the next couple months, I'm probably gonna buy some personalized jerseys, just because why not? I really want to get a Michelli, and I might go to like Cool Hockey if they still have them in stock and get a reverse retro.
Yeah.
But I mean, I work at the arena. Why not get some more ASU swag? I can't decide between Robert Mastrosimone or TJ Septemfelter as my next ASU jersey. So, Richie, because I know you watch every second of ASU hockey on the edge of your seat. Tisk tisk.
So I definitely don't do that, but I've heard good things about the goalie, and I've heard that he has been keeping them in games. So I would definitely go with the goalie. That's Septemfelter.
TJ Septemfelter. I'm probably gonna go Master Simone first.
Okay, well, screw my opinions then.
Well, that's because I DM'd Master Simone once and he actually responded. So. You know.
So something to note. I just saw that you tweeted this out. I didn't. We didn't talk about this. Liam O'Brien did suffer an upper body injury after that fight. So I noticed that he punched that guy's helmet a few times. That was when he got the double roughing call. I don't know how that. Two guys throwing punches at each other. They both get roughing. Okay, cool. You know.
Well, yeah, you had to end with an Islanders power play, didn't you? Double roughing.
Yeah. So he got the double roughing, and then I noticed that he immediately went. I'm like, oh, he got ejected for that? What the hell? Like that's BS. But they said the call, double roughing. I'm like, that means he's probably injured, and he is week to week. So he definitely broke his hand. I can 100% say with confidence that he had to have broken something in his arm.
Well, I actually can elaborate just a little bit. This is not one of those things I was told behind the scenes. I was, going down the elevator and then getting ready to walk to go around the arena to clock out, go home. I actually passed by Liam O'Brien downstairs, and it looked like he had his arm like in a sling. So it's definitely an arm injury.
Which is a real shame because that line was actually pretty good. That I liked.
O'Brien's been impressing me lately.
Yeah, that O'Brien
and get some assists.
The O'Brien, McBain, and Fisher line has been very good actually. They have not been offensively dynamo, but they have also not been defensively deficient. They've been, the nothing, nothing is happening line instead of the everything is happening line. So.
Hey, so
I'm happy with that.
There you go. Also, Barrett Hayton got his first goal of the year. The GOAT.
Yep.
It was a phenomenal steal, by the way. He had that speed, had a pretty decent little move there to get the shot off.
Yep.
More of that. I was happy to see him. You could tell that his teammates were happy for him. They were all on him immediately because that lack of production. And I said it, and this is not because insider sources, because it's just common knowledge. If you have that pressure on you and you're not producing, it's got to be frustrating.
Yeah.
So even the boys were happy for him. I love seeing that, lifting the kid up because boys got your back. But anyway, so Barrett Hayton is gonna get 50 goals in the next 20 games. And we're going to do a 1-for-1 with Austin Matthews. Who says no?
True. All right. Well, this has been the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please give us a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever platform you, found us on. I don't know how you found us, but hello. Aside from that,
they're outside of your
We'll see you later. We're in your walls. We're in the walls.